Welcome, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today at Astro's Roadshow Series. My name is Heidi Henriksen. I'm one of the co-founders at Astro, the Association for Short-Term Rental Homeowners. And today our Roadshow Series is going to stop in Dallas, Texas. There's been a lot happening both on the market performance side and the advocacy and legislation side of things. So we've got a quick 30-minute segment with some time for Q&A at the end. We'll go ahead and dive right in. Today's agenda, we're going to do a brief introduction to Astro for those of you joining us for the first time. We're also joined by Quinn from Key Data, one of our fantastic sponsors, to do a deep dive into the state of the Dallas market with some of the metrics and analytics happening, as well as Theron's joining us from STR Hero. He's here in full cape, awesome to see. He's going to go into some of the advocacy efforts and changes happening as far as the permitting processes and all things short-term rental related in the Dallas market. So, and like I said, we'll do some Q&A at the end. So with that, real quickly, who is Astro? We were actually launched in 2020 by a team of industry veterans when we found that there was a very large fragment in our industry, very little support for short-term rental hosts that are self-managing. So our goal was to provide a connection point between those hosts and all local resources, vendors, best practices in the industry, educational content. And that's when we launched Astro. We found that there was a need for an unbiased platform for all of those outlets. And we do focus our engagement through quite a few different platforms, between our website with a business directory of all of our vendors and sponsors we work with, to our membership community that is free to join, as well as a premier host tier with added benefits. We do have quite a few different social media outlets, as well as posting all of our live content on our YouTube channel. We do monthly newsletters, and then of course, lots of strategic partnerships with other associations globally, from STAA in the United Kingdom, EHHA in the EU, Penn State, and of course, local advocacy alliances and organizations. And then also we do a handful of webinars and events throughout the year, as well as our educational content. We focus on 6 courses every year, from marketing to technology to dynamic rates and revenue management strategies. And then last but not least, our roadshow that we're here for today. So real quickly, our community is very organized, similar to what you would see as a social media outlet channel. From all the topics of conversation are organized and easy to find, to the courses I'd mentioned already, to top members, daily content, and all of our upcoming events. So please feel free to check it out, members.astro.org. Sorry, members.astro.org. So with that, we're going to introduce Quinn from Key Data, and she's going to do some deep dive into the Dallas market. Welcome, Quinn.
Thank you so much for having me. I love being here every month. And Key Data's focus is to be the #1 trusted data and analytics provider of real-time vacation rental market data. So today, we're just going to talk a little bit about the state of the market in Dallas, Texas. And through direct integrations with reservation systems for vacation rental professionals, hotels, and resorts around the world, Key Data aggregates historical and forward-looking data in real time. We also scrape major online travel agencies, or OTAs, to provide analytics on a combination of rental by owners and professionally managed properties. So I'll dive right into our first KPI, or key performance indicator. So we're going to look at adjusted paid occupancy, and just a little bit about how to read this graph. So that dark blue line is going to be 2022 through 2023 adjusted paid occupancy as of November 28th in 2022. That gold line is going to be 21 through 22 as of the same date last year. That pink line is 2020 through 2021 as of November 28th, 2020. And then that light blue line is 2019 through 2020 as of November 28th, 2019. And on the left of that dotted line, we're looking at final data, so what's already happened this year. And then on the right of that line, we're looking at on the books data, or pacing data. So adjusted paid occupancy is a little bit different from traditional paid occupancy because it takes into account owner stays and hold nights. July 2022 in Dallas saw 60% paid occupancy, but for the most part, 2022 performed behind the last few years for a majority of the last 6 months, and is continuing to pace behind through March 2023. This trend carries across a lot of urban markets, as most urban markets are still recovering from COVID-19 related drops in occupancy. So next we'll take a look at rates, or average daily rates. So year to date, rates have decreased an average of $4 a night over 2021, but increased an average of $66 a night over 2020 and $65 a night over 2019. November's average daily rate was $188, a slight drop from $205 the previous year, and an increase from $140 in 2020. Average daily rate is pacing ahead of 2022, 21, and 20 in January and February of 2023. And February's nightly rates are projected to increase by almost $22 over 2022. Next, we'll look at RevPAR, which is revenue per active rental. So RevPAR was right on track with 2021 until a $5 decrease in August kicked off a decreasing trend that continues through the remainder of the year. In October and November, revenue fell to $61 and $47 per rental, respectively, compared to $73 and $67 the prior year and $65 and $60 in 2020. RevPAR is pacing slightly behind 2021 through 2022 in the late winter and early spring months, but ahead of 2020 and 2021 so far in Q2. So we'll move on to some booking trends. So average booking window in Dallas, we're right on par with last year, this year. For November stays, travelers booked their vacations an average of 36 days before check-in, which is only 2 days longer than last year, but it's 10 days longer than the previous year. And the further out we look, the longer that booking window is, but will likely end up being close to this year's average, which is roughly 30 days. And booking windows tend to be shorter in urban markets because of shorter and more last minute stays like business trips and weekend getaways. Next, we'll look at average length of stay. So unlike leisure markets like the Outer Banks of Myrtle Beach, whose lengths of stay drop off dramatically between November and March, the Dallas area sees a consistent, roughly 4-day stay year round. January 2020 and 2021 did see longer stay lengths than normal, which were 6.5 and 5 days respectively, but returned to normal last year and are anticipated to be about 4 days in January 2023 as well. And then lastly, we'll look at how arrivals break down for reservations made in the last 7 days. So guest check-ins for booking dates between November 21st and November 27th, this is when they are checking in. So 77% of these reservations will check in within 30 days of arrival. 16% will check in within 30 to 60 days of arrival, and the remaining 7% will check in more than 60 days from the date of booking. And you can see those spikes during holidays. Thanksgiving week accounted for almost half, so 48% of stays within 30 days of booking. And the week of Christmas so far accounts for 13% of the arrivals within 30 days of booking. And that's it for the data, but I did want to touch briefly on our new host data product. So Key Data has endeavored to build a simple mobile-friendly tool that delivers the power of our pro data to individual hosts in an easy and intuitive format. We want to help hosts better understand what's happening in their market, and we want to do it with more accurate data and better insights than what's available today. Like Astrho, we also want to foster a collaborative community where hosts can find tips, tools, and insights to help them drive more revenue. We'll be adding a ton of new tools and functionality in the coming weeks. So we really want to listen for your feedback. So we want to invite you to become a beta tester of Key Data's new host product at no cost to you. We really just would appreciate your feedback. So you can join us at the link below, which is keydatadashboard.com/products/host data. And if you use that promo code beta invite, this product is completely free to you. We really just would appreciate your insights and how we can make this tool better. So if you have any questions, please feel free to send me an email, quinn@keydatadashboard.com, or go ahead and visit us on the web at keydatadashboard.com. Thanks so much.
Yeah, that's exciting, Quinn. I'm curious to know a little bit more. I know, Theron, you might have questions about some of those metrics as well. Um, and if somebody wanted to do this beta testing, what is it going to look like on their perspective? Can you go into that just a little bit more? What sort of are they getting access to all of the key data analytics, or is it a limited version?
Sure. So because it's a beta product, we are still actively testing with it. We do have specific markets that are available just because we want to give you quality data. So we're providing you with markets that we feel very, very good about the data in. So we have markets that you can subscribe to. You'll be able to see market level data as a whole. You can add your property in and see how it's pacing against other properties that are like it in the market. So we also have message boards that you can communicate with other property managers in your area. We link all sorts of news, which we would love to work with Theron on, about regulations from VRM Intel, anything that we think would be helpful for property managers in that market.
And I have to ask, is Dallas one of those markets? I have to think it is. It looks like you guys have some great metrics from there.
Yeah, yep, absolutely.
Perfect. Okay, awesome. Well, that's an exciting development. Definitely probably find a few beta testers that might come from our community. So thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
I guess this might be a good time for me to ask some questions about the data. I like that was extremely insightful, and me being familiar with the Dallas market, especially from the regulation side, in the community angle, people have told me that they're, like what you've explained is like the folks that have been in the industry prior to 2020, this was kind of the norm for them, and they were anticipating this. Whereas people who had kind of gotten into things right after, the pandemic hit, they saw this occupancy rate that was higher than normal, and some people might have expected that it would just keep going, but that's just the natural way of things. Is this something that you guys kind of experienced yourself, and is that something, I'm sure, like for people coming into this, it's great that they have your information, because then they're going into it with their, let's put it like this, kind of their expectations set the right way versus having unrealistic expectations, because it seems like it's still a great market. It's just gone back to the normal fluctuations.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've heard from a lot of property managers that it's an extremely difficult time, right? Because people were used to the occupancy that they had been seeing. Like you said, property managers that have been in the game for a while. They were very used to what they were seeing. And when it dropped off, they were like, wait, what are we doing wrong? Like, can we adjust our rates? Can we, how can we drive people back here? And it really is. It's so dependent on what your state or community did regarding regulation or COVID restrictions or anything like that. Like, for example, like the Gulf Shores, they were one of the first markets to open back up. So they didn't really see that loss of occupancy that some other markets did when they, took a slower approach to reopening. And of course, no opinion on that. Just that's what the data showed. So some markets, especially urban markets, are still fighting that and trying to come back. And, people still have apprehensions and regarding COVID. So it's really just we're waiting for those people to come back. And, sometimes lowering your rates works, sometimes it doesn't. It depends on the traveler.
Makes a lot of sense. Well, if I was getting started in Dallas, I'd be glad to be on this call. That's all I have to say. Man, this is really helpful.
Yeah, thank you so much, Quinn, for all of that great insight. Really appreciate it. And Theron, we'll let you take it away from here with all of the updates and news and happenings around legislation changes in Dallas.
For sure. And well, I know the slide, just in reading it, it might sound like, oh man, this seems like more not necessarily bad news, but just more news or things that I have to be thinking about. But I really want to approach this and really explain that this is really an optimistic situation based on my experience and my company's experience in the industry fighting these when it was fighting unfair regulation when it comes up. But we have a database of around 1,400 short-term rental regulations in the country, and before, I'd say about 4 months ago, I would say that this would be, in our terms, would be considered a green in terms of regulation, because there was basically, actually we probably call it a gray, which basically means, hey, there's no regulation, which means you need to expect some at some point. So that doesn't necessarily mean it's just all sunshine and rainbows, but it was definitely very wide open with regards to regulation, because there wasn't really much of regulation except for you needing to be paying taxes on your short-term rental booking revenue, which is pretty normal, and that's a good thing, as long as it's not too much. But basically what's happened recently is that Dallas, the city council, has proposed an ordinance that would effectively ban 70% of short-term rentals. And by doing, in the way that they would do that is they're trying to restrict short-term rentals in residential areas. And that makes up about 70% of the entire short-term rental population. So these are folks that are in the residential neighborhoods, not in the city centers where there's different zoning requirements and things like that. So that is, on paper, that sounds really, really bad. But the great news is that this is something that the folks, including STR Hero, that are doing advocacy there, are in a very, very good position on. This is something that we're used to fighting. Just a little background about us: we stop. Our whole thing and our whole claim to fame is saving cities from bad short-term rental regulations. That's where STR Hero comes from. And this sort of a proposal is a proposal that we've stopped multiple times before. Actually, our first victory, which we've never lost in general, period, but our first victory and our first fight was in Detroit, Michigan. And it was basically the same type of an ordinance that was going to restrict almost all of the short-term rentals in the area. So the way that this is really fought is through what's called advocacy, and you have a short-term rental association, which there's already a great one called the Dallas STRA. That's the Dallas Short-Term Rental Alliance. They're 800 members strong. They've been around for multiple years, and they have collaborated with us, where we are the main strategy component. We provide the strategy, the execution, the fundraising expertise. These are all crucial in getting these things done and getting this stuff changed. And we've been collaborating to basically get this ban pulled. And I have some great news, but I also have a call to action to everybody who wants to be in the Dallas market, or if you're just concerned about short-term rentals in general. The great news is that, we've done work getting the lobbyists together. That's a big piece of stopping these bans, is having a lobbyist to allow you to get the decision makers to listen. That's our main slogan, is that's what you have to do. And the decision makers are city council. These conversations have already started happening, and let's put it like this: they're basically ready to pull this and change this for the better. They just needed the association to have a lobbyist and do this the right way. So this is all politics, and you have to do these things a certain way. And the great news is that we're getting those things done. So, with you guys' support, it's very likely that we'll completely stop this ban, and this will be a thing of the past. I'd say around February or March. It could be that soon. The thing that we need from you guys is, one, your participation. There's going to be an event tomorrow in person, and the details are on this slide, and we're also going to put the details in the chat. You can just click on it. It's free. You just grab a ticket from Eventbrite and you have free entry. It's going to have food, drinks, alcoholic beverages. It's going to be a mixer and an awareness event. This is something that's being supported by many companies: Airbnb, Proper Insurance. There's local companies that are supporting this as well. You guys, if you're serious about being in Dallas, and especially if you're local to the area, you need to be there. This is going to give you all the information you need to know. and let you know what you guys can do. And the biggest thing is your participation, which that's a big way to do it. If you're not in the area and you can't make it, you can also join the Dallas STRA. You just simply sign up for their email list. The address is on the slide as well. And you'll get email updates about everything that's going on. The other thing is, this is something where funds are needed to be raised, and there's targets that need to be hit. There's a $15,000 target that we're trying to hit before the end of the year, which it looks like a lot of people have been piling in to help with this, different sponsors and whatnot. And with you guys' support, we'll be able to fund the lobbyists and so they can continue doing what they're doing and getting this stuff removed. And I know I just said a lot there. The main thing is, in summary, is to sign up for the Dallas STRA. And if you can make it to the event, go to the event. Everything else will be told to you there. That's everything that you need to know. And basically, this sounds like a bad thing on paper, but we are making a lot of inroads in getting this thing stopped. And this is something that every city at some point is going to have to deal with. This is something that everybody's going to have to deal with. So getting this ordinance removed and being at the table with city council, so they see, oh, this is the industry. This is really what the industry is. We don't want to ban these folks. They're not bad actors. They're not, people throwing party houses and stuff. That protects the industry for years to come in Dallas and makes it a green regulations area. So this could be literally a green regulations area as soon as February or March. And, that's something that's a really big deal. And this is also going to set another precedent for the rest of the cities, especially large cities that are looking to regulate short-term rentals too. So showing them that, hey, we're doing this the right way. And we're not, throwing the baby out with the bathwater by trying to ban everybody, or mostly everybody. So I know that was a lot. Mainly, this is a call to action. And, I would recommend to keep your eye on Dallas. With what's going on, Dallas should continue to be a great market to invest in short-term rentals.
Thanks, Theron. And I know there's some of us that wish we could be there in Dallas, but don't have that opportunity, unfortunately. So I'm curious, what does a win look like? This event happens tomorrow. People are brought up to speed on what's really happening. Those that can get involved further obviously can. But come February, March timeframe, what does a win look like for hosts to move forward?
For sure. So, I can give you an example directly from, one of our past experiences, which was almost exactly like this, and that was Detroit. The win is the lobbyists continuing to have these conversations, bringing in members of the community that represent the community in the correct light, meaning what most of the community members are, which are small-time short-term rental business owners. They maybe have 1, 2, 3 properties. They're just trying to pay their mortgages. They're trying to get their kids through school. These are the stories that the city council members are not hearing in the right fashion. So it's literally the, lobbyists connecting the city council with the actual community members. And that's what's going to be happening, as soon as now, especially in January and February. And I'm going to tell you, anytime we've done this, we've never lost. It is a complete pull of that proposed ordinance. What they do is, they tend to put something very unreasonable out because they don't understand the industry. So once you connect with them in the right way, and by them, I mean connect with the decision makers in the right way, they quickly realize, oh, wow, this is like going to affect a ton of people that I want to actually protect. It's going to affect my voter base. It's going to affect a ton of homeowners. Oh, we need to pull this. And it literally happens like that. One city council meeting and it's gone. And, it literally went from, my personal experience in Detroit, where I was going to lose my whole business because of a ban like this, to literally the next day, there was, they said, oh yeah, we pulled the ban indefinitely. This is not something that we support, and it's that simple. But it takes what we're doing now to get that done, especially raising money to keep everything going, especially funding the lobbyists. So we're confident that we'll be able to do that. We want as many people to join in on this as possible. And, with that, I see a very big victory coming for Dallas very soon.
That's fantastic. So it's obviously a strength in numbers scenario, and it's more about these legislators hearing from these hosts and then eliminating the ban altogether, not necessarily finding a middle ground, but just removing this proposed ban and continuing with the permitting process that stands in place today.
Exactly. And you brought up a great point, because what most people think about, and we thought about it too when we first did this in Detroit, was, okay, what happens next? Like, what is the middle ground? And, I'll give you another example from another victory and what happened years later. So Columbus, Ohio did something very similar to Detroit, where there's a proposal, they rallied together, they did what we're doing now, and they got the ban pulled. Then about 3 years later, when COVID hit, they wanted to bring about, tighter regulations. But guess what? The association was at the table with city council. So when they were trying to bring up these regulations, they didn't bring up very unfair regulations. They first went to the association. It was like, hey, okay, we want to bring in, some actual regulations. We pulled the ban, we didn't add anything, but now we want to put in sensible regulations. So for that example, they put in what's called a 3-strike rule, where if you have a severe, issue at your short-term rental, I'm talking about, being a bad actor, having a crazy rager, something like a huge disturbance. If you have 3 of those, then your license can be in jeopardy of being removed, But so these are sensible regulations that most great actors would agree with, because this is what helps keep out bad actors, but it allows everybody to still have access to this market. So that's really what happens later. Right now, it's all about getting this proposed ban pulled, and that's what happens first. And then as the years go by, we're at the table now. So then when they bring back this subject again, they're doing this with a level head, and they're actually working with the community instead of just bringing this up without talking to the community.
It makes perfect sense. I mean, it's actually simpler than what most people envision, and it's all about bringing your voice, or in some cases, your cape to the
That's
table.
right. That's right.
And it's that easy. And if you don't have your cape yet, yours is coming, because it's about just having a voice and being heard. And it's much easier than you might realize. So that's awesome. Thank you for what you're doing there. And obviously it's a desperate need, and we're glad to have you working on this.
Hey, I appreciate you guys helping us get the word out. That's why we are all heroes here. Okay. And you guys on this call, you can sign up, join the event. You guys can be a hero too. It's that simple.
That's fantastic. So again, that's tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. Central Time in Dallas, and the event link will have the location. And we are just wrapping up our roadshow here. So a quick little note on the side: if you want to join Astrho, if you haven't yet, we have a free membership tier for our hosts. We also have a premier host tier for just $160 annually. And it gets you fantastic access to all the educational courses, all of our various different deals, perks, and benefits offered by our vendors and sponsors. So we appreciate all of those. And of course, feel free to join the community on social. We'll be joining you next month in January for our next Roadshow Series stop. So until then, thanks so much, everybody. Quinn, Theron, thanks for being here today, and have a great rest of your week.
Thanks
for having me, as always.